Hey, it's game time, and we are here with the Hope Christian Huskies and the state champion Hope Christian Huskies and head coach Gary Beck. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for having us.
What's it like to finish the year on top with the Blue Trophy?
That's the most incredible experience ever. The boys worked hard. The coaches are all volunteers, and they've worked hard for years and years. Had Coach Anderson's been here 10 years, and a bunch of us been here 5+ years. A lot of the players have been with us 5 years, and it's the culmination of many years of sweat and blood and tears.
What was that day like? Championship Saturday against Socorro. Kind of talk me through what you guys went through that day.
We tried to keep the routine the same. I'm not a superstitious person. Well, yeah, I am, but I'm not going to admit it. But we try to keep the routine the same. I think one of the mistakes we made last year was making too much of that semifinal game, and everybody got tense and tight and couldn't relax until it was too late in the game. And to me, if you treat it as it's another game, yeah, there are implications involved, but we'd already won a trophy. We just had to determine the color. And so try to keep the routine the same, kept the same modern warfare pregame tournament we always have before we load the bus, kept the schedule the same, went down and tried to treat it just as it was any other ball game.
At the start of the year in week 1, did you think you had a state championship squad?
Yeah, I knew we had a super talented bunch of guys. Last year we graduated 14, but most of those came off of the secondary. We had our returning running backs, most of our line. I think we graduated one off the offensive, defensive line. Returned all of our linebackers. It was just a matter of coaching up and replacing the secondary. And a lot of these guys, like I say, had been with us for 3-4 years. So they knew the routine, they know the process, and they know what it takes to get there.
All right, for those who didn't get an opportunity to watch the game, let's take a look back on the highlights and see how Hope Christian lifted the Blue Trophy. Let's start in Socorro, where Hope Christian and Socorro battled it out for the Class 3A state championship. The Huskies got on the board first in the first. On their opening drive, Blaine Miller went 60 yards to make it 6-0 Hope. Socorro would respond when Payson Hicks connected with Nathaniel Fresquez for a 44-yard scoring play. 7-6 home team at that point. Huskies would get one more in the quarter and regain the lead when Miller gets it in from a yard out. 12-7 Hope after one. The Warriors would put up 2 touchdowns in the second quarter, both at the hands of Michael McDaniel. First, McDaniel went 43 yards for a touchdown, and one by land and one by air. The next one was a touchdown pass from Hicks to McDaniel. Socorro on top 21-12 at halftime. Socorro added a field goal to make it 24-12, but here come the Huskies. Miller would score again. Then Colin Evans would get in from a couple yards out to take the lead for good. In the fourth, Jared Knowles would seal the deal with a final score of the day. The Huskies outscored Socorro 22-3 in the final 2 quarters to win it 34-24 and take their first ever state title in football.
What time is it? Game time!
Welcome back to Game Time with the Hope Christian Huskies. Now that we saw some of the highlights, let's break down the game a little bit. You guys fell behind 21-12 at halftime. What did you tell this group in the locker room at half?
A lot of that we can't repeat. The general consensus was you have 24 minutes, a lot of these, because we have 17 seniors, and I think we dressed 28 for the game. Of those, you have 24 minutes left for a lot of them in your football career. How do you want to leave it? I mean, you can save some and try to play again, but for the most part, you leave it on the field, and it came down to who wanted it more that last half of the football game. And
when Socorro went up 24-12, were you getting nervous at that point?
Not as much. The first series in the second half, we were 3 and out, and that caused a little concern. But when the defense, Coach Lee, as our defensive coordinator, had made some adjustments that started to pay out, and instead of them scoring on their next drive, they ended up kicking a field goal. That was the first little momentum shift, and then the Jared Knowles to Colin Evans throwback pass for 30 yards when we were 3rd and 21. I think that was the big thing, because they didn't know how to handle it, and it got the momentum started really rolling. And then from there we switched to the what we call the package, which is the full house backfield. And for some reason they didn't adjust to that, and which amazed me, because that's what we did to Robertson, and Robertson had trouble with it also. And we scored, and then you could just feel the momentum starting to shift and starting to roll. And then we went down, I think they ended up with 2 fumbles and 3 interceptions in that second half. and we continued with I don't think we threw another pass the whole day, and scored and kept scoring. And
It did. It just kept going. You outscored them 22-3 in the final 2 quarters. Who was the MVP, the offense or the defense?
I think you're going to, well, they're all the same guys.
Yeah, true.
So, I would say the team.
Yeah.
It's a team win because, like I say, we have, it was funny because they talked about us being, should have been a 4A and 5A, and I'm looking at a sideline on the other side. They have 40 to 50 kids. I have 38 in the entire JV varsity program, and I dressed 28 for the game. It's like, there's no way. But we have kids that will play both ways, and they will fight both ways, and they're just superstars in my mind.
What does it mean to win the school's first state title in football?
A little humbling. I mean, if I am the self-proclaimed chief of football operations, which means I have an offensive coordinator that calls the plays and designs the offense. I have a defensive coordinator that designs and calls the defenses. I have assistant coaches that teach and instruct and push and move and pieces parts, and I just keep the plate spinning. So for me, it's humbling because, you know, they make a lot of, oh, the head coach is head coach. It's not. It's those guys over there that are coaching and these guys back here that are out there executing on the field. I just tell them, you know, if we win, I get the glory. We lose, it's your fault.
Yeah, I like that theory. But how far has this program come in such a short period of time?
It's great. Like I say, I believe I read an article the other day where they started with 92 kids their very first practice 10 years ago. And we've seen the numbers go from 92 to the 70s, and it's slowly, and I think talking with a lot of the other coaches this season, the numbers have been dropping off. And we had, like I say, we had 38 for basically our JV and varsity teams. I think this is going to go a long way in recruiting, and I say recruiting, not that we're going out and recruiting outside the school, but from kids that are big and should be or have the time, should be playing football or want to play football. This is going to make it easier to get them to come play, so that hopefully it'll help our numbers and we can still fill, you know, 2 full teams.
Aside from any new ones you have coming into the program, who do you have coming back for next year?
I think out of that 20, we carried 25 on our full-time varsity roster. 17 of those were seniors. We had 2 juniors, and the rest were freshmen and sophomores. So we have one of our better receivers, James Jenkins, is coming back. He's a sophomore. He'll be back. A couple of other, the lineman, Andrew, the big guy down here on the end. But for the most part, we're bringing back 8, and then there's a bunch of little bitty short guys that we're hoping will grow over the summer.
Well, listen, you can't win back-to-back state trophies if you don't win the first one, right?
That's right.
That's
right. Exactly right.
Well, congratulations. Congratulations, guys, and we'll be back with more Game Time after this.
I thought I was pretty tough until I became a father.
Oh, I hate those things.
What do you mean you hate it?
Real toughness is knowing when you need help.
We've all been there. Fried nerves, no sleep. None of us do it alone. If you need help, you've got to ask for it.
We need to fight for our kids' futures. It's up to all of us to make New Mexico the best place to be a kid.
Connect with resources and support at pulltogether.org.
Are you living the life of an athlete? The New Mexico Activities Association brings you Life of an Athlete, a resource for students, educators, and parents to understand the challenges students face. Athletes, did you know one night of drinking will negatively affect your athletic performance for 2 weeks? Or that athletes who drink and do drugs are twice as likely to get injured? Alcohol's effects can reduce a high school athlete's potential by as much as 20 to 30%. Are you living the life of an athlete? Log on to lifeofanathlete.com to find out today.
New Mexico Gas Company rebate programs can help you save money and use energy more efficiently. Your furnace is essential for those colder seasons. Natural gas is the best way to heat your home. A natural gas furnace offers exceptionally even heat. It also costs less than most other heating systems. Have a high-efficiency heater or boiler installed by a participating contractor and earn up to a $375 rebate. For more information on New Mexico Gas Company rebate programs, visit nmgco.com.
Welcome back to Game Time. The New Mexico Activities Association recently announced the upcoming class for this year's Hall of Fame. The NMAA Hall of Fame will induct 3 new members: Dr. Crit Caton of Artesia, Tom Manning from Santa Fe, and Ernest Viramontes from Las Cruces, all worthy of the honor.
To be inducted into the Hall of Fame with gentlemen and ladies that I've looked up to my entire career is a humbling experience. I never would have thought that the honor would be bestowed on me. And there's a lot of other folks out there, I'm sure, that are quite a bit more deserving than I am as well, but I just appreciate the committee and the association Activities Association for bestowing the honor on me.
I hope they remember that I'm just a regular guy that, worked hard, and, I happened to get into a vocation, I would call it, and was blessed to have got to work with all the people that I got to work with, and I hope they remember I had a kind of an easygoing style and like to have a lot of fun with what I do.
I cared about people. It's all about relationships, and it's how you communicate. I hope they can say he was one of the best communicators there ever was, because I think in our field, in any field, communication is huge. And he cared about us, and the one term I always used with in basketball, we always heard there's not a letter I in the word team. And I think throughout my whole life and whatever endeavor I've been in, that's been my philosophy, and I would hope they would say that he's a team player.
Before we close out this episode, I wanted to tell you about something special in Alamogordo earlier this month. The high school honored Alamogordo legend Lawrence Johnson for his 42 years in the Alamogordo public school system as a successful coach, teacher, counselor, mentor, and nationally recognized administrator by dedicating the Tiger Pit in his honor. Johnson passed away in 2018. The dedication was a fitting honor for this legend of the community. That's going to do it for this episode of Game Time. Be sure to check us out all during the high school year. Tell a friend, spread the word. Game Time is the most comprehensive high school sports show out there. Until next time, here's your meme of the week.